Okay, so before we get started on actual code, let's kind of conceptualize what's going on and how we need to work with this. So she gives us this interface, Object2D. It comes with a class, an inner class, static class. So that means we can use this by itself, and I'll show you, show you what that means later on. Here's a declaration, another one, and another one. Oops. So these are some things that an abstract doesn't have to define its body, but whatever class extends will have to define. So what does that mean? That means she wanted us to create this Tetris piece 2D. It's right here, and it's an abstract class. That way people can create instances of that class. So create an abstract class, and it has to, you cannot extend a interface, which is what this is. You can only implement it. So implement Object2D. You can try to extend it. Let's try it. And of course it just tells you, no, you can't do that. So there you go. It implements it. And like I said, it's not going to force you to define these methods. But like I was saying, whatever extends this Tetris piece 2D, it'll force that class, whatever is extending it, to define rotate, toString, or get dimensions, or get block. So I'll show you. Extends object, or sorry, Tetris piece 2D. See, it's going to say, hey, you need to add these unimplemented methods, and they need to be defined here. Or what if I were to take this out? It'll complain, but watch. What if you implemented it here? Now watch what happens. Well, now it's okay because it was implemented here. So that way, because eventually you'll have 7 shapes. You'll have the I shape, J shape, L shape, O shape, S shape, T shape, Z shape. So you don't really want to, I mean, unless you can't think of some generic way to rotate each shape, you don't really want to have to define a rotate method for each 7 shapes. And that goes for, let's see, what else is there? There is get dimension. There's toString. So what if you, it didn't add toString, but so what if you, well, let me do a more explicit one. That way it'll complain about it and you'll see. So now it's telling you, oh, hey, you need to add this unimplemented method, meaning there's some method in the superclass that hasn't been defined. So like I was saying, same with this one, get block at. Well, if you can create some sort of generic get block at method that'll work for all 7 shapes, then you can just define it here. And same thing goes with, see, and it just cleared its error. Same with get dimension. Well, what if you could create a get dimension generic method? Get rid of that. And see, it'll be okay there. Well, that's hopefully the goal. And she says that the block, sorry, oh yeah, there it is. So each one of the shapes takes a block object in the constructor. So let's create a constructor. Let's see, L, and she wants it to have a block And that's how you do that, creating a constructor that takes a block. And that's so far it. What is going on here? Oops. There's that. And so the test driver is, that is where main goes. There is only ever one main for any program. That is the entry point into your program. That's how it starts. That's where it begins. This is where your program starts. So, and here is where you can actually create your L shape or any of your shapes. And then it'll complain because it says it needs a block. So how can you do that? We'll just create it long way. And then you just put the block variable in there. It should clear that up. And then notice, even though we didn't define rotate in here, well, watch, because of inheritance, L shape, remember, we didn't define it in that class, so, well, there's that method. See? And it's because of inheritance that we can call it. So, there's rotate. And look, even if we were to take it out and put it in here, see, it's complaining because rotate hasn't been implemented. If we were to put it in here, test driver would still work just fine because we're implementing it here, just at a lower part in the hierarchy of inheritance. So I'll put it back in here, and that goes for variables, which is a little bit more confusing maybe. So I'll get into that in the next video, but so that should be good for now. Hopefully that sort of clears up some confusion on where things might go or where you might want to put things. Oh, and toString also can go in here. Yeah, because you can create a generic toString method that will figure out whatever type of block or shape it is and output. I think she wants asterisks. Let's see. Yeah, so for each one of the pieces, she wants an asterisk. So that's where you could do that in here as well. And the shape class could honestly be just a constructor and maybe a couple variables inside here that define the shape, and I'll get into that later. Alright, I'll talk to you guys later. And the last thing I wanted to show you guys was the dimensions 2D, this static inner class. So what does this inner class do whenever it's in an interface like this? Well, it sort of ties it down and locks it in to only any class that extends or inherits from Object2D or implements Object2D. So, for example, we can see it implements Object2D, so we can go ahead and create a Dimensions2D object. See, and it doesn't complain, works just fine. Same with L shape. Well, L shape, because of inheritance, implements Object2D, because Object2D, because Tetris piece 2D implements Object2D. So you can certainly do this. Let me take this stupid thing out again, and it'll be just fine. But you cannot be, and that was only because of inheritance, but you cannot do this. So you cannot create stupid thing. You cannot create something like this because this class does not extend object2d